The Enneagram is a tool that actually has been heavily embraced in the Christian culture for a little while now. Now, it has occultic origins and is something that is a very pseudoscience tool that really wasn't originally made for personality types, actually. And now it's became a very popular personality tool. Former New Ager turned Christian apologist Marcia Montenegro was on my show live late last year, in around August. And she has some really good nuggets to share about Enneagram. She shared it from a New Age perspective, and I gave some standpoints from a psychological perspective, and we both landed together from an apologetic perspective. And one of the things that she talked about heavily was the influence of Richard Rohr when it comes to the Christian influence of the Enneagram. Now, before I play that clip one more time, it's just something really interesting to know about Richard Rohr and just the influence that he's had in so many Christian circles, so many Christian artists, even from a celebrity standpoint. A lot of people from Bethel has been very open about endorsing Richard Rohr, even Christian people, non-Orthodox Christians such as Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey's been a huge supporter of Richard Rohr. Richard Rohr has really had a very prominent influence in the Christian community. Very bad, actually. Just the thought of you can just go as a Christian. You can just go to his site. You can just go to his organization, which is the Center for Action and Contemplation. Go check that out. There's just so many things that is just so off when it comes to the teachings of Richard Rohr. Perennialism is another one that he has made very big within his teachings, and that is the belief that all major religions, all world religions really, they all kind of come together and have some type of divine truth to it. And you can see this all in his books. I've read his material, looked at many interviews of him, read his material before, and you can just see it. You can just see he just makes points to really get to some type of pacifist, even in a sense, some type of unified front when it comes to religions on violence and peace and all that. Although peace is great, there had to be consequences for actions. And so there's so many in order to get to this point, there's so many things that Rohr does that takes Bible verses completely out of context. And this is really bad. I mean, I'll let you figure that out by yourself. And the discussion that I had with Marcia Montenegro, Marcia studied a lot about Richard Rohr, studied a lot of Richard Rohr's things and really dissected quite a bit. She actually wrote a book talking about Richard Rohr and the Enneagram. Go check that out from Marcia Montenegro. Everybody enjoy the conversation I had with Marcia Montenegro. And my prayer is that you'll realize that there are teachers that are not a good influence at all. There's so many good teachers out here, especially from the apologetics community. There's so many good apologists. There's just so many good apologists out there that you don't need a Richard Rohr to influence your Christian faith. If you're reading Richard Rohr, if anything, as an apologist, as a Christian who has an allegiance to Orthodox teachings, if you are looking or reading Richard Rohr, it should be for the purposes of dispelling his teachings, not embracing them. And so, if that is your studies from Richard Rohr, that's what you should be doing if you appreciate it and embrace orthodox teachings. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the clip that I'm going to play from a previous interview I had with Marcia Montenegro speaking about Richard Rohr. Beware.
Naranjo taught a Jesuit priest there named Bob Oakes the Enneagram. And Bob Oakes took it back to a seminary in Loyola, and that's where Richard Rohr learned it. So now Richard Rohr, he's not a Jesuit, but he learned it there and then ended up writing a book with Andreas Ebert, a Lutheran pastor. Actually, the first book was in German. And then it was translated to English and published a couple of times, and it came out as The Enneagram, A Christian Perspective. People might like to know that in the first edition, they write in the preface or the intro that it has no Christian origins. And then that was changed in the later edition to imply or to say, Evagrius Ponticus and this 4th century monk might have started it. And it began to take on, these myths about its origins that have been repeated, unfortunately, in most, if not all, of the Enneagram books that have come out. So Richard Rohr's book is there, 1991. Not a whole lot of huge influence there. It's in parts of the Catholic Church, although the Catholic Church never endorsed it. And then Richard Rohr makes friends with the progressives and they adopt the Enneagram. And then Richard Rohr's disciples, Suzanne Stabile and Chris Horitz, write books published by IVP and Zondervan. It gets into the church. Now, Richard Rohr, because of that influence, I have heard Enneagram teachers in churches on video recommend Richard Rohr.
Wow.
This is very, very disturbing. One of them even called him a Christian teacher and a wise man. And I'm just sitting there I don't know whether I'm just frozen in shock or I want to scream. I kind of want to do both.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, he's telling these people this. People sitting there who probably don't know who Richard Rohr is are going to go and get online on Amazon and look up his books.
Yeah.
And Richard Rohr's theology is deadly because it is almost completely heretical.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some very prominent names from the New Apostolic Reformation movement, really promote Rohr, tweet about Rohr, all types of quotes and things like that, and just some notable singers too, some Christian contemporary singers, that came out of the Bethel movement. So
Gloria Gaither endorsed him back in 2016 or 2017.
Wow.
I did a Facebook post. She had her Bible study group read a book by Richard Rohr, and I think she interviewed him. Very favorite. She's just wild about it.
Wow.
And I did a Facebook post on a lot of people were very shocked and upset by it. But I said, this is a real thing. We can't think that somehow people in the church or Christians are immune to false teachers, because if you look at the New Testament, so much of it is warnings to believers about false teachings that had gotten into the church. I mean, Galatians and Corinthians, Colossians talks about some of it. So we know, and 1 John, so we know that Christians can be deceived. And, this was a very good example. And I thought, this will make people realize you have to be alert. You can, like the Bible says, you have to be vigilant.
For sure.
And sober-minded. You can't just relax and think everything's okay. I know the Bible, so I'm okay. And it's not that I don't think we should be scared, but we just need to be vigilant.
Yeah, amen.
And test things. And so here was an example with Gloria Gaither. And then, of course, yes, a lot of other people have endorsed Rohr. And these people I heard were in conservative churches, and they're seen as conservatives. I know that he was a speaker at the Young Clergy Conference in 2017 for the Nazarene denomination, which
Wow.
most people would think of as a conservative denomination.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, this just opened the door more for Richard Rohr.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just, I don't understand how any Christian with a heart for proper exegesis and hermeneutics could really listen to more than 30 seconds of, or read more than 30 seconds of Rohr, listen to more than 30 seconds of an interview. I literally, Marcia, I told you this when we were, before we went live, I was reading the book, the Enneagram book that he had. And I love listening to Theology and Apologetics podcast during working out, during cardio and lifting weights. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to properly, gather the information I can, to research to properly represent him as I'm criticizing him. Because I've looked at plenty of Rohr interviews, but as far as his literature is concerned, I've just been snippets of his stuff. And so I started diving into that book. And I literally had to stop taking notes, because I always take notes. I listen, I take notes. I do that with YouTube videos too of people I don't agree with, that's really theologically not right, or just from an apologist standpoint, a lot of people who speak against Christianity, and I really focus on different parts and quotes and things like that, and just take quotes because it's from them, so I'm not straw manning, right?
Right.
And so to prevent straw manning, I took notes, and I was at the gym, and I literally had to stop taking notes because I was spending so much time stopping my workouts, putting notes on my phone, pausing, taking notes, going back to lifting weights. Oh my gosh! And I stopped and started taking more notes. And I was like, I'm done. I'm just done taking notes. And then I tried again. I was somewhere else doing, trying to. I think it was right before I was because I lead men's Bible study on Wednesday nights, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to, because I was studying right before the Bible study, and I was like, okay, I'll carve this time out to listen to more of Rohr, right? And so I did it again, started taking notes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go, I gotta stop, because it was just taking so much of my time, listening to probably 10-15 seconds of the content and writing notes. It was just taking too much of my time. That's how bad it was to read that. So yeah,
I know it's bad.
It really is.